Uh, so today, I shall give you the menu, ladies and gentlemen, what I think the menu will be. So we'll start off, Jenny will give a talk about your practice, and then Lisa and I will... No. No. No, that's not happening. That's not on the menu. No. That might be the back room menu, but it's not the front room menu. So we'll go back to FI practice. So you can do your own tango lessons. Probably by that stage, it'll be lunchtime, I'd say, or pretty close to. And then after lunch, I'm still doing this, whether to start the series of Jello pudding lessons. I don't know why I do this, but that's what it is, the Jello pudding lessons. Or to give you a, yeah, that's it. Or to share with you a particular FI ATM template that seems to have pretty consistent effects. Yeah. So I'm not sure which one to do. See how you're cruising. All right. Hey Raymond, how you doing? Yeah, good, good. You know, I actually recited the whole of the Alice's restaurant thing the last night in the shower. I still remember it after 25 years. There was a little joke that Lisa and I were sharing. She sat down and then she moved away from me, and there's this little line. Sorry, this might be like, what the hell is he talking about? No, Alice's, you know, you can get anything you want at Alice's restaurant. Well, there's a whole story to that. You don't know the story? I won't torture you with a recitation, but it's this great story about Arlo Guthrie visiting his friend on Thanksgiving. And his friend lives in a church. And because they live in a church, they figure, yeah, there's a lot of room downstairs. We don't have to take out the garbage. So he arrives at this building, all the garbage is piled. I think it was the theme of the movie. They collect all the garbage. They go to take it to the garbage dump, but the garbage dump is closed, so they do a bit of illegal dumping. And they get caught. And so the story develops from that. And then eventually he goes to court, he gets convicted, he goes to jail, and then he realizes that's not the reason I'm telling you this story. So there's this little thing about anti-conscription, and then he's on the bench with these dudes that can't join the army because they're not moral enough. Yeah, they're not moral enough to join the army. And he says to the sergeant, I'm not moral enough to join army, burn women, kids, houses and villages after being a litterbug. Okay. So, but you know, there's all sorts of, this is what's interesting. There are all sorts of values in the world. So for the sergeant in the army, he's not moral enough. For the dudes on the table, they scoot over to him and says, what they get, what you're in for, why you're here. He says, I'm here because I was littering. And he says, and they all moved away from me on the bench. in his Arlo Guthrie accent. And then he says, and creating a nuisance, and they all came back, shook my hand, and we had a great time on the bench. So you can see from one set of values, other set of values, and then, yeah, come on, bro, you're a bro. Yeah, so that's the way life is. You got to hang out with the right people at the right time. I don't know why I went there, but that's it. It was maybe I was the warm-up act. Hey, main act. How you doing back there? Okay. Thank you.
Okay, so for this next little segment, would you please find a mat and lie on it? And if you can kind of stay vaguely collected, that will help. And you know how to meet the floor, but just check in this morning with how it's meeting you. Are there particular places where you have really clear relationship, where there's a firm contact? Are there other places where the contact is not as clear? Maybe there are parts of you that you're not even aware that you're not aware of. I'm not quite sure how one discovers those, probably by accident. So just notice if you do discover a part of you that you don't often recognize. Are there bits of you that are already resting on the floor, bits that are not quite ready to rest yet and are still heading in that direction? And then maybe you could bring your awareness to the pattern of your breathing. So just sensing where do you feel movement? Where do you feel parts of you joining in? How far through you do the echoes of your breath travel? And does your breathing fall into a two-part rhythm, just simply in and out? Or do you have pauses between the in and the out, or the out and the in, or both? And so just for a little while, could you deliberately create a four-part pattern where you take a breath, you pause for a moment, you notice when it's time for the air to go out, pause briefly, start to pay attention to the signals that your body gives you that it's ready for a little bit more air to come in again. And then particularly paying attention to the flow of air coming in. How do you sense that? And what else is connected through you? So we know that the flow of air is vital to survival, to life, the body, ourselves. Comes in, it goes out. Sometimes there are pauses. And so as you keep part of your awareness on that flow of the air coming in, can you also begin to think about the flow of money coming into your practice? Money also flows in and flows out. And the pauses in between, however brief, give us a moment to think about and plan for what else we want to do. So was there an effect on your breathing when I mentioned that word? Can you keep your breathing free and easy and think about money flowing in? Okay, so the technical term for money coming in is revenue. It comes from various sources. Some of you already have people coming to your classes and paying for that. In due course, you'll have people coming and paying for FI as well. Maybe you'll even have various products or other things that you sell that they'll pay for as well. And then let your breath just fall into whatever pattern it chooses for a moment. Let your attention do whatever it wishes. And then come back to that 4-part pattern of breathing. And this time, rest your awareness lightly on the exhalation phase. So notice the quality of the sensations you experience as you breathe out, where you feel those, what else is connected. And then keep that easy, comfortable outflow of air as you think about the expenditures that you make in relation to your practice. So money flows out in very many directions. Hopefully, some of it flows into your pocket. And that's initially going to pay you for some of the time that you spend in providing whatever services whatever the services are that you're offering. So your classes, your consultations, your workshops, that sort of thing. Eventually, some of that money will pay you for all the other time you spend on your preparation, your professional development, your insurance, your venue, all those other things as well. Hopefully, you'll be not only paying for those expenses, but for the time that's involved in the organisation. And so share your attention between the flow of breath coming in, the flow of breath coming out, those little pauses in between, and the idea that money will come in, money will go out. Some of it will stay with you and some of it will go to other people. And then let your breath do whatever it chooses. Just notice if it has a particular preference that it's coming back to. Is there a difference in the quality of your in-breath and your out-breath? And then coming back to that 4-part pattern again, and this time, can you rest your attention on the little pause between the breath coming in and the time when the breath goes out again? Just notice, is there a signal that you can recognize that says it's time? And so maintaining those gentle, comfortable pauses, can we think about the relationships that we need when we develop a practice? So all businesses depend on creating and maintaining relationships. You have relationships with your clients, with your environment, with your communities, and of course with yourself. So if we think about those, who are your clients? What sort of needs or interests do they have? Do they fall into groups or categories? How do you work with them? And what sort of relationships will you be building with them? If you think about the environments in which you engage with them, are those environments in which you're comfortable? Do they constrain the number of people that you can work with? Does it offer particular opportunities for how you work with people or who you work with? Is the setting indicating in some way where your service sits in relation to other similar services? So does it say something about what people's expectations of fees would be? And are there other environments that you'd like to explore in terms of where you work or how you set up the space in which you work? And then we think about the various communities that we're part of. Our families are significant in terms of other responsibilities that we have, connections and relationships that they have, expectations that they have about who we are and what we do. Maybe you belong to some sort of club or interest group. Do they have opportunities? Do they have expectations? Maybe you have another workplace that you're part of. And again, that may bring constraints and opportunities. It may bring expectations about what other things you can do or how you do them. And then, of course, there's your sense of self, your self-image. Do you have an image of yourself as someone moving towards being a Feldenkrais practitioner? And how does that influence the way you go about building your practice, about choosing and setting up environments, about how you relate to people, about your relationship with the flow of money? Do you have an image of yourself as a business manager, separate from yourself as a practitioner of the work? And then let your breath just fall into whatever pattern is comfortable. Just lightly scan what your system is doing in response to these thoughts and ideas. And once again, coming back to the four-part pattern of breathing. And this time, resting your attention on the little pause when the air's gone out and it's not quite time yet to take another breath. And share that attention with the idea of communication. So communication has many purposes. Sometimes we need to gather information. We need to listen or read or watch. Sometimes we need to give information or raise awareness amongst our potential clients or referrers or colleagues. We need to invite people to engage with us, to come and buy our services. We need to ask them for payment. And we need to build and maintain this client-practitioner relationship. So gently expanding your awareness to recall the air coming in, the flow of revenue into your business, the pause where we think about environments, and relationships, the communities, our self-image, the air flowing out, and the various ways in which we spend the money that we need to do in order to have a practice and a business, and the various aspects of communication that go on to sustain it. And as those flows continue in and out and pausing, that's all kind of caught up in the flow of time. So that over time, things are subtly changing. A bit more here, a bit less there, different emphasis, different opportunities. And so if you could kind of imagine into the future down that river of time, far enough away where there's plenty of time for things to be as you would really like them to be. Can you catch a glimpse of yourself and your practice then? What kind of things do you notice in terms of the environment, the clients, the communities in which you're moving, how you sense yourself, how you're communicating, and how the revenues and expenditures flow in and out of your business? Maybe it's not entirely clear yet, but maybe there's a sense of some things that are just the way you'd like them to be. And then letting your breath fall back into whatever rhythm feels most comfortable at the moment. Check back in with your body. How is your relationship with the floor? Are there different parts that are now resting? Are there some parts that are not as at rest as they were? And then when you're ready, gently find your way up to sitting. Maybe even to standing. And just notice, what do you bring with you as a result of that exploration? And just take a few steps and then come back, and I've got some pretty pictures to share with you.